www.anxietycenter.com.
First off, I want to say nice to meet you. I was hoping to see you, but I guess I can do that next time.
Next time you'll be able to see me, yes.
Yeah, that's okay. And I do want to thank you for the opportunity and for all the work you do for all of us. I mean, I'm really happy that I found your website because I had, been dealing with some things, and I felt like every doctor I found just didn't really know what I was talking about symptom-wise, or just wanted to kind of prescribe me medications. And I've always kind of been against medications. Not that, it's not okay to take them if you need them, but I've also taken them, and I'm very sensitive to medications, so they never work for me. But if it's okay, I can just kind of tell you my story briefly, and then
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I want to say like 2.5 months ago now, I had to take prednisone I had an allergic reaction on my face, and I took prednisone, and I only took 3 pills. And then later that night, I smoked some pot. I haven't done that in years. I had 2 babies in 2 years, and I don't know why I did it, but I did it. And anyway, after I did it, I had a severe panic attack that lasted like hours, and it was really painful. I remember feeling my heart thumping out of my chest. I had uncontrollable, excuse me for saying this, guys, bowels. I was sweating. I also felt kind of like what you explained, like kind of like out of body on your website, like I didn't feel like I was in my body, maybe, like kind of, it was very scary. I also had very, very intrusive thoughts and of death, and just really scary, traumatizing things that lasted hours. Eventually, I was able to kind of fall asleep from it. Mm-hmm. I only got like 2 hours of sleep that night, and I woke up, and I started having like mild anxiety throughout the day, all night, and then and it'd be like a wave in my gut. And I'm very intuitive and able to like describe every little symptom I've ever had, because I've always kind of been like that. And it scared me, because the last time I had felt that kind of fear and depression and stuff kick in like that was when I was postpartum after I had my 2 babies. Yeah. I went through it for 4 weeks with my first and 6 weeks with my second. And then it kind of just, my body worked its way, hormones worked themselves out, and I went back to normal. So it was traumatizing though, both times I went through it, because I went through it very bad. I've never been through anything so scary in my life. And so this prednisone issue happened 2.5 months ago. And since then, I've been having symptoms like, anxiety, head throbbing, like pulsating in my ears. A lot of the things on your website, actually, trembling and extreme fatigue and trouble breathing. But the 2 that have bothered me and kind of stayed with me, while some of the other ones have subsided a little bit over time, which is nice, is the anhedonia, or like the lack of pleasure, not enjoying things the way I used to, which really bothers me, and the earworms. They have got to be the worst symptom I've had, I think, even worse than the panic attack, because they're just so incessant, and they just drive me crazy. And then I came across your website, and it's been the only thing that I could find that, like, everything on your website, not everything, but a lot of the symptoms I've experienced through these last 2.5 months. And some of my symptoms have gotten a little easier. Like my anxiety is not all day anymore. I have it here and there, which is awesome, because it was a very uncomforting feeling. The intrusive thoughts went away, and as of a week today now, I haven't had nightmares or panic out of my sleep for a whole week straight. So thank God for that. Okay. And, I actually, it was funny, because I prayed to him and just said, if this is what I have to go through, I'll accept it. But if you could please just take away the nightmares, because I would have nightmares every night, and it would wake me up in a panic and my heart thumping. And I'm sure a lot of you and yourself on here have dealt with that, waking out of your sleep in a panic, and it is not fun.
Yeah.
And ironically, the day I prayed that night, I stopped having nightmares, and I stopped having panic out of my, like, just miraculously. And I remember waking up and thanking God for at least letting me sleep without waking up scared to death. And it's been really tough, because each time that I've gone through this, it's been very traumatizing. This time it was medication induced. When I went to the doctor, they told me it was the combination of the weed and the prednisone, mostly the prednisone though. And you know, the doctor that had prescribed it didn't bother to mention to me that it can mess with you know, your psyche and all that. And that it's artificial cortisol, which is your stress hormone, and all that. So it's been really tough, but I guess the symptoms that really are still with me right now is when I'm sitting still, I can feel my body tremble a little bit, not to where it's bothering me, but just enough for me to notice. And then, like, when I'm laying down or sitting in a certain position, I'll have, like, the pulsating in my ear. It feels like my head's heart, like, has a heartbeat. And then I get mild anxiety here and there. Like, I had it actually right before we were going to do this discussion. I was very nervous but excited at the same time. So, and then the earworms and the anhedonia, those two are the worst for me, because I feel like with the earworms, just like that girl had said in that earworms video you made, she said, you know, it feels like she has no control over this. And it bothers me, because I'll sit there and try to think of something else, and then some song will pop in my head, and it just plays. And it doesn't have to be the same song. It could be like a different song, you know, or the last song I heard, or even a little melody or something, and then it'll just keep repeating and repeating. And it's like, I'm trying to do some of the tips you've given, like the meditating and everything, but I guess I wonder, like, what would you recommend, or how did you meditate when you couldn't turn off the incessant mind chatter? You know, it's like really hard to focus, and I don't know if I should just avoid music altogether, or, I mean.
You know, a lot of what you said is so classic for a lot of anxious sufferers. You're right, the episode you had, the combination of the prednisone, especially that, because you're right, it is a, you know, artificial corticosteroid that can really crank the nervous system up in a hurry. And then, of course, you know, marijuana also activates the fear centers. And so you put those two together, and there was likely some stress before all of that, so you had the perfect storm to get your body stirred up and to really show you how hyperstimulated it is. And once the body sort of crosses that normal hyperstimulation line into a higher degree, well, then it just persists. And then, as anxious people, we start to worry about all that. We imagine that's never going to go away. What if it gets worse? And we just keep on throwing logs on that burning fire. So what you said is very, very common. The symptoms you mentioned, we see them lots and lots and lots. Now, regarding the last two, well, first off, overall, this will all go away when you get your body stressed down, so it's not doing all that. The fact that you still have some trembling going on, that shows your body is still hyperstimulated. The nightmares are classic for stress. You know, stress is a common cause of them. And when the body transitions from sleep cycle to sleep cycle, if the body's even hyperstimulated a little, it can dump hormones into us as the body starts moving, and we can have all that stuff going on. Everything you said lines up perfectly with what hyperstimulation does.
I took your test, and I was at, like, high. It was like 74%. And I took the other test, and the only one I tested normal for was social anxiety. Like, I don't have that at all.
Right.
The depression and the hyperstimulation, those were considered high, in the high range.
Yeah, and that's why you're having symptoms, because your body is stressed. Again, we always want to break it down into two things. Our symptoms are caused by elevated stress, hyperstimulation we call it. And then our anxious behavior drives it all. That's the thing that causes the stress. So if we want to overcome it, if you want to get rid of symptoms, solely focus on reducing your stress. It's
Yeah.
hard, though, when you have those underlying factors still creating stress, especially the invisible factors we're not aware of. And so that's why we always recommend therapy to go after both, because if you go after level 2 recovery, it's going to certainly help level 1. But if you don't,
Yeah.
if you just work at level 1 recovery, the level 2 stuff is still going to cause it. So that's why we recommend both. But just to sum up here, the symptoms you're having are lingering because your body's still hyperstimulated. A body that's hyperstimulated, even to a slight degree, can cause symptoms. And so what you're experiencing is that, well, you're bringing it down and things are improving, hence, nightmares and maybe sleep's getting back on track and getting some cloudy breaks. That's great, but your body still has some distance to go before it stabilizes where you don't have any more symptoms, and that's what you're working towards.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask you too, like I heard you talk about level 1 and 2 of recovery, and I don't know if it's on your website because I haven't been able to find like what do I do? Because I can't honestly afford your therapist.
Yeah,
I do have a therapist here that I see, and she's great. She's covered through my insurance though, so but she doesn't, she's new to all this stuff I'm talking about, so it doesn't
sure.
feel like she really knows what to do for me. And your website's been like the only homework, which I like having homework. It kind of gives me something to do, keeps my mind off of being stuck,
Hmm.
but I couldn't find level 1 or 2 of recovery, or what it is I should do in those levels to kind of get from 1 to 2 or whatever.
Yeah. Up to this point, well, your comment is timely because tomorrow morning we're posting at our website that our focus is now moving away from level 1 recovery, that's the physical side, and right on to level 2 recovery. We're just going to be starting to post things in the next month or so, getting the ball rolling in level 2 recovery. So we're getting there. We did spend a lot of time on level 1 recovery because there's a lot to learn and implement and lots of questions, but we feel we've done that. Level 2 recovery is all next. So if you can be patient, you'll see a lot of things coming in the next few months that you could find helpful. And we are going to be doing kind of workbook homework things in addition to the information we're providing. Now, it's not intended to replace therapy because each person has a unique set of underlying factors and how they relate to each other and where they come from. And that's so important to be able to have that personal assessment and help addressing those specific things. So the information we're going to provide is going to be general, but I think you're going to still find it useful.
Yeah, and yeah, I just thought that when you were talking about level 1 and 2 recovery, that it was something that you had to get through, using your therapist. So I'm thinking, oh no, I'm never going to be able to recover because I can't afford this therapist.
Yeah, I hear you. Again, the
um,
level 2 stuff we're going to provide is going to be general, and we certainly can't make it specific to each person because, again, each person has a different reason why those factors are there and how they relate to each other. But it will help you sort of look at things in an overview perspective, and you might be able to work through it, and at some point maybe even have spot therapy here and there to help you, connect the dots. Yeah.
yeah. Um, I did actually, I wrote like 17 questions down, but I'm only asking the most important ones. Um, So I did want to know, like, do earworms, do they come back every time you get stressed out once you've already had them? Like, say they will go away, which I'm praying and hoping that that's what's going to happen. But do they come back every time then after you're stressed? Is it like something your brain kind of goes back to once like once you've all the way healed and feel like yourself again, or is that just from being hyperstimulated? So it's only something I need to be worried about if my body's completely hyperstimulated.
Well, stress can bring it back, and there's a couple of factors. One thing that research has shown is that you don't want to be listening to music before you go to bed. That's a high predictor of having an earworm the next day. And I've actually proven that in my own life. I'm a musician, and for years, as I've been working at Anxiety Center, I've sort of put it on hold, but I've recently resumed, been doing some of the composing for some of the background music of our videos and things like that. So it's been fun. And because videos are so time consuming, sometimes I'm working at 10 to 12 hours a day trying to get them put together so we can get them online. And when I do that and I'm not taking sufficient rest, I'll get an earworm. And sometimes it might last for 3 days until I start working at my stress, bring that stress down, get the body centered again, and it'll go away. So for me, it's no different than any other symptom. Like if a person has an eye twitch or whatever it is for mild stress, I'll just treat it like that and move on. But as a composer, I'm always thinking of melodies. So I've noticed that with people who are musically inclined, there'll be a higher prevalence of earworms than those who aren't exposed to music that often. So maybe this is how your body responds to stress, because when you think about it, stress will increase the electrical activity in the brain. And the brain doesn't like void. It's going to fill that void with whatever it is. And when stress goes up, a lot of times those melodies will come back. But we don't have to react to them with disdain. You can treat them as any other symptom of stress. Yeah, my stress is up. No big deal. When I get my stress down, it subsides. Things that I've learned to do to shut them off, especially when I have, like, say, a week or two of long hours and those earworms are persistent, I'll just eventually say, okay, well, going to change the channel to something else. Just stop when I see it there and just get busy doing something else. That'll change the melody at least for a while until I get my stress down, but I just don't give them any mind.
And I do notice, like, it's not as loud as it was in the beginning, but it has been every single day. It's like there until I go to sleep. And then when I sleep, it's gone. And then when I wake up, it's right back again. And I'm like, ugh, I would love to just hear the birds and not the songs.
And you
Can
will.
I ask y'all, what is an ear, you said earworm or ear?
Earworm, yeah.
It's just, earworms are it's just a fancy term for, like, songs playing in your head all day and night. Just really, when you get a song stuck in your head.
Okay.
Yeah. But mine have been for 2 months now. So they're, I guess it wouldn't bother me so much, Jim, if I could get a break from.
Yeah. And you will, again, just treat it as another symptom. You still have some symptoms. That means your body is hyperstimulated. And that's one of them that's going to persist for you for a while, but it will go away too.
So just don't listen to music before bed. I actually found I started avoiding music, and I'm trying not to do that because I don't want to create avoidance behavior.
Yeah.
That's not beneficial. So I stopped doing that because I'm like, well, if I'm going to hear music in my head, I'm going to hear it anyway. So there's no point in avoiding songs.
Yep.
I guess another reason why it bothers me so bad is because I can't enjoy the music that I used to listen to, because and maybe this has to do with stress too, or the hyperstimulation, I don't know, but the lack of pleasure, I can't, I look at my kids and I just don't get the same overbearing love feeling that I have for them before, or my animals, I don't care about them anymore. And it makes me feel I love them deep down and I take care of them, but I don't feel that loved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yep.
Yeah. And it hurts because, like, I used to enjoy cleaning. I used to enjoy cooking and going out and doing things and talking to people. And I'm just like, now it's kind of like, it just doesn't have much of and I used to enjoy going to church and all that. And now it's like I'm going and I'm not really hearing anything that the pastor's saying. Yep. I'm not really connecting with it. And I think that's been, like, really bothersome to me, because to be disconnected from everything, especially God, for me is really hard, because I grew up in the church. I don't know. It's just been really difficult. And I'm trying to stay optimistic. Yep. And I feel like such a pessimist lately. And I feel like I keep asking God to forgive me for not loving him and everything else that he's given me the way I used to. I feel guilty, but I don't know I know it's not anything I really can control right now, but I just feel so guilty. And
right, well, maybe I can address a couple of things. The not feeling anything emotionally is super common. It's also one of the indications that your body is heading towards, recovery. Because when you think about it, all these symptoms happen because the body just overly stressed. It's just had so much stress. It's just wired. And as we start to get our recovery strategies working, it starts to bring that stress down. Then it wants to move in that don't stress me kind of attitude. That means everything gets flattened, including our positive emotions. So that could be a good thing. And so if you realize that this is kind of just, do you remember the stress cycle we have at our website? You have the peak, the duration, then a dip below the normal, then back up again. Do you remember that cycle?
Yeah.
That's kind of what recovery is like, is we have the great big peak when we're all stressed and everything else, and we have the duration while we keep it stressed. And as we start to work at our recovery, it starts dipping down, and it's going to go below the normal state for a while. as the body recovers and as we just pull that normal straight, we're going to feel those kind of nothing's pleasurable, all those kind of lingering symptoms until the body starts to regain its strength and resilience and health and returns to normal. So I experience the darkness. We see a lot of people who go through that. It's just another symptom of anxiety. And if you keep working your strategies, be patient, not be anxious about it, because that keeps the body stressed. And we sometimes get stuck on that low ebb where, okay, I got rid of most of my symptoms, but now I'm feeling kind of down, and that's probably not a good thing. What's going on here? Maybe it's not going to go away, and what's wrong? And then we keep ourselves in that low period. So if we just let it go through that low period, let the body recover, it does, and all our good emotions come back. In fact, all the good ones become back stronger because now we've got rid of the stress that kind of suppressed them in the first place. So you just gotta hang in there.
I'm trying. I'm trying, and I'm just kind of trying to take it easy.
Yep.
I don't really know what to do, I guess, to like get my symptoms down, other than kind of not overstress my body and try to just stay away from stress. I mean, it's kind of hard though. I'm in the medical field, and I have 2 babies that are under 2 years old. So
wow, you have stress.
I have a lot. Yeah, I mean. But, so it's kind of hard to, like, get rid of that. I can't just quit my job and get rid of my kids. So.
Yeah. Well, one thing you can do with your kids is if you have family members who can take them for a while, or if your husband is supportive and understands you need more time. Because here's the thing. You need more time to de-stress than someone who's not hyperstimulated, just living the normal life. Because we always want to give our body more relaxation than we do stress. And if you're doing a stressful job and you have kids, you got to find ways to dump some of that stress so you can give your body the chance to recover. Now, that said, you can still recover. It just takes longer.
I don't really, sad to say, I have been explaining this to my husband. He just doesn't really get it. He's never really gone through anything like all that we have. And I try to explain to him that I need rest. And he just doesn't really care and expects me to do everything at the same. And I pretty much, between the two of us, parenting wise, I pretty much do it all, and he expects me to do.
Oh, you cut out there, Brianna.
Yeah, to the same capacity that I've done it prior to hyperstimulation. So, and I keep trying to explain that I can't do it. I need more rest, and he just doesn't get it or gets irritated, and he's called me lazy. He's not that supportive. We're not really getting along very much as of the last 2.5 months.
So then you have that other stress too of the relationship going on. And one thing I might suggest, if your husband is interested, is to maybe talk to Stacy. Sorry, are you working with Stacy? Did you say? Or no, you're not working with a therapist, right?
No, I have a therapist here at home that my insurance covers, but she.
Yeah, I was going to suggest what you might want to do if you were working with a knowledgeable therapist, to have your husband join you for a session so the therapist can explain to you that what you're dealing with is not laziness. It's real that we have to do, and it requires real strategies to get us to recover. That might be helpful.
Yeah,
Jim, Stacy on his YouTube channel, the reason I'm saying this is because I had my husband watch it. On his YouTube channel, he has like a video for family and work people of anxiety sufferers. I had my husband watch it.
Oh, interesting. Good to know. I haven't really watched it. He and I have been talking the last little while about some of the upcoming things. So I'll have to tune into his channel. But
I think his channel, what is his channel? Is it the anxiety? No, he has his own. Stacy Ellerton.
Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Okay, I'll have to check. I talked to him about videos and upcoming things, but I didn't know if he had a YouTube channel. But I'll have to check that out. And if that's a good video.
It's really old. He has like a tie on.
Okay.
But yeah, he explains it for like family members and like people you work with and that kind of stuff. So
I'll have to go find that then, because I really connected with you, Jim, when you were talking about how, your wife just couldn't take it anymore, and you understood. And I mean, I get it, like, but it's only been 2.5 months for me, and you had to go through it for years. So it's like, I feel like I wish he would be a little more patient with me so that I could recover and, be what I was. But it's just been really tough on all of us here, because I've been kind of the Debbie Downer, and I'm not trying to be, but it's just like, I'm just playing the cards I'm dealt with right now.
Yeah.
So,
well, what we have
yeah.
coming up is some of our therapists and I are getting together for a YouTube video on how to communicate anxiety disorder to loved ones and how to help those relationships be supportive of the person recovering, because it is a very common thing. And here's the sad thing. I'll be honest with everyone, is that anxious people often get into relationships, unhealthy relationships. Why? Because we've come from backgrounds that we had unhealthy relationships with our parents or siblings or whatever. They're comfortable to us. We understand them. They're familiar. So we get into the same kinds as we get older, into our married relationships, yet they're still unhealthy and dysfunctional. We're in the same spot. So trying to recover from anxiety disorder, there's a lot we can do on our own by addressing our behaviors and getting our stress down. But it's more difficult when the person that we're attached to doesn't understand or doesn't care to understand, or is a controller and we're still feeling oppressed by the controlling. So we end up in that situation where, work we can do, but we're in unhealthy relationships creating a lot of stress. So part of recovery also involves changing our relationships so that we become healthy within them, set healthy boundaries, which then forces the other person to have to adjust to our kind of quote new behavior so that we can get healthy. And I'm going to say it's not easy, and some relationships don't survive. But the problem is if we don't make changes within ourselves and our relationships, then our stress continues to remain high throughout our life, and we don't, get to that place where we can be anxiety disorder free. So it requires, the best relationship is where you have both people who are interested in working together for the good of the couple. Worst kind of relationships is one person is trying to get something from the other and neither are willing to budge. Usually it's the anxious person who's willing to do whatever it can to maintain the relationship, and the other person really doesn't care. That's really hard to be there. I've worked with so many people over the years where they ended up in that situation. We haven't spent much time talking about it at our website because it is a complex issue, but we are going to be doing that in the very near future with our team of therapists to talk about how we can do those things, providing practical tips on how to move forward.
Yeah, I think that's what I need, is just kind of some support, and not just from him, but like my family too, because I only have on one hand family members who I talk to, and each one of them just kind of, my mom, she's kind of the dismissive, she's overly optimistic, like, it's okay, rainbows and sunshine, let's just move on, and then she'll try to change the subject. That's not helpful. And my sister's kind of like, I'm not your personal therapist, that's not helpful. And then my grandma, she's the like tough cookie. She's like the only you, get over it, move on, And so it's nice having a therapist, because at least it's someone I can talk to that's not going to judge me. It's nice having, you and whoever is on the Skype calls to talk to in the moments. It just kind of gives me a little bit of, support, I guess. But I guess I just have one more question, and then I'll be done so that other people can go.
Just before you run, I wanted to touch on this that you might find helpful. There's 3 areas that we're working on right now for the level 2 recovery. Number 1 is expanded version of beliefs. That's real important because beliefs are right at the crux of everything we do. We have a portion up there now, but we're going to expand on it. That's helpful. Boundaries is vital to anxiety disorder recovery. We're going after boundaries with a vengeance, including providing information to support people as they make those boundary changes, because boundaries are revolutionary, but it takes a lot of effort to make those changes, because a lot of times people in our relationships don't want us to change. They want us to keep us where they are, so we just remain anxious and they're fine. So that doesn't work for us, so we have to make changes. So boundaries is going to be with a lot of support information. And of course, the obvious one is worry. We have a whole big section coming about worry and how to overcome worry. So those are coming. So you might find the relationship stuff and boundaries really helpful.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm looking forward to that then, because it's been hard, but
totally.
My last question is, Do you have any personal tips, just from personal experience, on how to cope with not being able to enjoy things the way you do? I know I need to continue just doing the work and trying to relax and try to meditate, which I don't know how I'm going to do that because my brain won't be quiet.
Yeah.
But, and just, do I have to, like, when I meditate, do I have to do like a sit down and try to, like, just listen to sounds around me, or can I play like classical music or something? I mean, classical music doesn't seem to stick in my head. It's like anything with words.
Right.
So I thought, would that be considered meditating? Kind of. I don't really know how to meditate.
Yeah.
I listen to rain and thunderstorms works great.
I love the sound of that, but see, for me, it's like my earworms actually outweigh nature sounds for right now, so it's not really working. But I wonder, maybe classical music, would that
It can, if you find you would have to put together a group of music that is soothing, because as you know, classical can range anything from nice and calm to really dramatic.
Yeah.
But you can, I'm sure there's places online where you can find soothing and relaxing classical music if you like. Here's the thing: we use the term meditation kind of loosely. We don't ascribe it to like Eastern meditation, but what we're doing is we want to do is to still the mind so that the body calms down. And I know it's really difficult when the body's hyperstimulated because mind just wants to go. But this is regular deep relaxation helped me still my mind. It helped me put boundaries around the stuff I didn't want to indulge in. Just like you do now, if you have earworms come up, when I started to do deep relaxation, it was, okay, stop. No, not going to go there. Rest. Listen to this. Even if I listen to the thing I was listening to, I love sound effects. Listen to the sound effects for a moment or two, that was enough peace. But as your body calms down, you'll find that all that mind chatter starts to stop.
So it makes it a little easier to kind of concentrate and meditate, I guess. Yeah, because my concentration is just terrible with these earworms. But okay, yeah. And then and how would you recommend coping with the not enjoying things?
Passive acceptance recognizes temporary. I used to question it all the time too, because I had the same thing, having a young family and that I cared for deeply, yet I just didn't feel anything for I didn't even feel anything for me. I was just like blank, nothing. And I had to come to that place, you're an anxiety trick. I'm just going to let you ride out. I'll feel better in time and just let it go. But that's about the only thing you can do because, for women,
kind of accept it and let it be what it is until it's not.
It's more difficult for women because women are more emotionally wired than men are, but you can still do it.
Yeah, it's doable.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've come across many women who have, gotten through it, right? Like it's.
Yep. Tons and tons over the years. I'm doing this now for over 35 years. We see lots of people come through us.
And those women, did some of them have the earworms and they went away? Because that really is the most annoying thing I've ever done.
I laugh because everyone has their pet symptom they hate.
Yes.
For one
well,
person.
I would almost take no, I wouldn't trade it for anything else. I just wanted to go.
I think everybody else on the call is probably laughing too because I think everybody's felt the same thing. I'd rather have this symptom than that one.
Yeah. The earworms are top of the list for me.
I was just thinking that. I was like, I'd give anything for just earworms. I don't even recognize my earworms. I have ear snakes. I have sandworm earworms. I don't even recognize them.
Oh, you get it too? You get the music in your ears, Jeff?
Oh, I was just thinking that you're in such good shape, right? Let me just give you some reassurance. Jim has already given you a ton of reassurance, but let me just I've been in the anxiety community for like 6 or 7 years right now, almost 10 years, and you got a pretty good hand dealt. No medication. You reacted a little bit up to the corticosteroid and the marijuana. Big deal. This is something that you'll have this licked if you can just do your part, and not even being perfect, just do your part enough, then more good than you are bad. You'll have this licked in a year, or at least to a point where you're like, I'm going the right way. And no, you got such a good hand. I wouldn't worry one bit. Well,
I appreciate the words of confidence, and I'm sorry that you've been dealing with it for so long, and I think you're pretty tough. I mean, I've actually heard you talk on other calls, so I think it was you because it sounded like you, but I also had the kind of fear of, and sorry, Jim, if you need to cut this out, that's fine. Of I think it was sexual intercourse, like being like I would get anxiety anytime thinking about it or going into it, and I mean yours was a little different because I'm a woman, but like I know what you mean. Like I get scared or stressed out about it, and it starts making my heart. Yeah, I don't know why, because I've never been afraid of that before, and I think that was you, but I don't know. So if it's not you, I'm sorry for bringing it up.
No, that was me. I mean, I have. News is I've improved in that. I mean, I have to knock on wood, and I know it's might come back or will come back for a little bit here and there. But no, that was me, and it's improved for me, but it's still there. Yeah. But no, I mean the earworms. I have to be honest. I kind of just like laughing under my breath here, like earworms. Come on, But I know all this stuff sucks for everybody, and it's. I would just concentrate on doing no medication. You do have a lot of stress, but
actually when I took the Lexapro, they bumped my dose up, the instant that they bumped my dose up and I felt it, I heard the earworms so loud. And so it was like, I can't even think of a movie reference, but in movies, when you see people holding their hands on their head and like feel like their ears are going to explode because they just, I've seen movies like that before where people have like just way too much going on in their head or it's really loud. Yeah. That is what it was like for me. And it's died down and gotten a lot quieter, but it was, you think it's not that big of a deal, but when you go through it like that, it's, I mean, you can't sleep, you can't think, you can't function. It's just like something taking over your brain. And like, I almost would have rather had the physical pain than the mental.
Yeah, check yourself. I wouldn't.
I wouldn't.
That physical pain can get pretty bad.
Oh, I know. I've had it pretty bad when I was postpartum. I don't know why, but my body is really sensitive to my own hormones when they get thrown off, and it was miserable. I didn't sleep for, I think, like a month straight. I got maybe an hour of sleep a night. I was having panic attacks so bad. So I know what you mean by pain. It was painful. But like it went away in time once my hormones regulated. But being a woman is, I remember growing up as a kid and I just would always think to myself, I wish I was a boy because I like tomboy stuff. And then when I became a woman, I'd think, I wish I really would have been a boy because I wouldn't have had all this hormonal issues.
Yeah, but as guys get older, it's not a pretty sight. They have their own set of problems when they get older.
Oh yeah,
I'm a kidney nurse. I'm a kidney nurse. They have a whole host of problems.
I know.
Prostate.
Yeah, where they're the ones that have to stop and pee every 15 minutes.
We got to have a doctor stick his finger up. Well, you know what I mean. Every year.
Hey, well, at least you don't have to have whatever mammograms or whatever.
Yeah.
I haven't had to do that yet, but anyway, yeah. I mean,
earworms are really common.
There is.
Sorry.
They're really common. I know. When I heard you say that, honestly, the only, Jim, I wanted to tell you this, the only little bit of hope or excitement, like I felt like a spark of excitement, was when you responded to me on YouTube and was like, lots of people have gotten rid of it. And I don't know, the second I read that, I felt like that flicker of excitement in my chest. And I'm like, oh, there it is. I'm not completely dead inside. And then, when you helped me out with that membership deal, that really, I cried. I was just shocked that somebody was so generous because I'm here where I live. You just don't get that. And anyway, I just really thank you for the opportunity and the help and your compassion. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're more than welcome. When you're talking about earworms, I know there's days I used to wake up and the minute your eyes would open, it's like it's right back. Just like, you've got to be kidding me. You're still here.
Yep. Yep. This morning, my daughter woke me up, and I'm like, oh, my baby. And then all I hear is music. I'm like, seriously? I can't even enjoy this moment with my daughter.
Yeah. The thing is, you raise a good point. It's easy for us to stress about things when they persist. I mean, who likes things that are bothersome that persist day after day? But this is where we have to desensitize ourselves from the disappointment or frustration. The closer we get to, yeah, it's there, like an unwanted friend, whatever. You just go about your day. My wife had a good illustration. She used to tell her clients, it's like our symptoms, it's like a friend that you like, but is with you all the time and never leaves you. And you don't want to be rude. So the best way is just to accept that the person's there and just get on with your day and, all right, whatever. That's how we want to become with our symptoms. Yeah, we don't like them. They're there. So what? Move on. Because when we make them a big deal, they become a big deal. Yeah. When we don't really care about them anymore, the tendency for them to subside is far greater. So I think, based on... Mm-hmm.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, based on your comments, it sounds like this is a big deal for you.
It is. It is. And I try to trick myself into thinking, whatever. But then some days I get so annoyed and they just get louder and louder. And then the more tired I am, I notice if I'm really, really tired, they're loud and persist, So I don't know. I try to get good sleep. I have been actually sleeping pretty good. So I'm happy about that.
So let me talk about your day. Because again, if you look at symptoms are stress related. So are you having sufficient time in your day-to-day routine to build in relaxation periods so your body can rest, or you just go until you go to bed?
I usually go until I go to bed. That's just because that's kind of who I've been. I just have always liked to go. And so it is kind of hard for me to just remember to sit and relax, or just, don't. Yeah. And, but I do get, if I get off early, I do get an hour maybe before I have to pick up my kids. And I could use that time to kind of just sit on my porch and look outside and I guess I consider that relaxing, because I'm just not doing anything. I'm just kind of, and my body has no problem sitting. So I don't have the sit still problem. Mm-hmm. I guess physically I'm not ready to go. It's more like my mind is ready to go. And so I get up and do stuff to try to run away from it. Yeah. But you can't really run away from your mind. So it's, but yeah, I guess I get an hour, maybe a day where I can relax. And then after my kids go to bed, I can get an hour before I go to sleep. So I usually try to go to sleep around 9:30.
How old are your kids, if you don't mind me asking?
I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Oh yeah, so you are super busy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and they are really, them and sheer willpower and God are the only things that kept me going. I actually had a really bad night where I ended up calling the suicide prevention line. And just for someone to talk to, because I had no one home with me, and it was just me and my kids, and my husband wasn't here. He was gone for business. So, and it was 2:00 in the morning. I didn't want to wake him up. But it's gotten better. I just, I guess I just wanted to express to you my symptoms and thank you, and wondered what I could do to kind of. So what you say about trying to change your mind or whatever, that doesn't always work for me. But sometimes if I can change my focus, if I can go do something, that helps. Yeah. To stop them for a moment.
I would encourage you to try to find more ways to build rest into your day. Okay. While you get an hour here and there, that's great. But if you're working full time, you've got 2 little ones, especially at those ages. And if you're expected to do everything else in the house, that's just a lot of stress all by itself. So if you can't find ways to reduce that stress, I just want to encourage you that then these symptoms are going to last longer until that stress comes down. That's why I always say cause and effect, body symptoms, stress. If we want to get rid of symptoms, you got to get rid of the stress. That's where the focus should be. So I think just based on our conversation today, we're probably going to move up the conversation about how loved ones can help people who are recovering from anxiety disorder, because it is a common problem. If your husband is sensitive to that and he listens to what we produce, he might be able to provide more support for you so you can get more downtime. So the other thing I would offer, I guess it would depend on whether your husband's agreeable or not, but if he would be agreeable to get a better sense of what you're having to do to recover, I would be willing to meet with you and your husband to have that conversation with him, if that helps.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, that'd be wonderful if he is. I don't see why he wouldn't be willing. I mean, he's kind of stubborn, but he can. I don't know why that would be an issue. I can ask him.
Yeah, you can ask him, and if you'd like to do that, just send me an email. You did before. Send me an email. We can arrange something. We can have a small chat, because if you want to get rid of your symptoms, you got to get your stress down, and it's really tough to do with a full job and kids at home and not much support around the house. It's really tough, and I'd hate to see you drag out for months and months trying to get your stress down, because that's what it requires to get rid of these earworms and everything else you're dealing with.
Yeah. Okay. Do I just email you on here or on YouTube, or what do I?
You just email me. I think you went through the YouTube thing. Actually, if you just email me.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for everything, and I'll let someone else take over from here.
Well, thanks for your participation.